Welcome to Everyone's Talking Money, where we get brutally honest about money, mindset, and making life richer. Hey, money lovers. Welcome back to Everyone's Talking Money. Shari here, and I'm so excited about today's episode because we're kicking off something I've been dying to share with you. If you've been following our Rich Girl Summer series, you know we're all about living luxuriously within our means. And honestly, travel is where you get to put this to the ultimate test. I've gotten so many DMs from you asking about travel, how to afford it, how to do it without going into debt, how to feel bougie without breaking the bank. And I get it because I used to be the queen of credit card travel hangovers. I was talking to one of my girlfriends about this episode the other day, and I shared with her how I had so many long weekends where I was traveling and living my best life, taking amazing photos, eating delicious dinners, but then I couldn't sleep for weeks because of what I put on my credit cards. She shared with me that she took a trip to Italy and dropped $3,000 in 1 week. That $3,000 did not include flights, and it took her 8 months to pay it off. But here's what I've learned. Travel shouldn't stress you out financially. It should recharge you, give you perspective, and make you feel more alive. And the crazy thing, some of your most incredible, memorable, amazing travel experiences can happen on the smallest budgets. For today's episode, we're doing something a little different. This is actually part one of a two-part series that's going to completely transform how you think about and approach your next adventure. In today's episode, we are focusing on the foundation, your mindset and planning. We're going to talk about shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset when it comes to travel, how to stop making excuses and start making plans, and the strategic planning framework that will set you up for success before you even book your first flight. Then in part two, which will drop next week, we're getting into the nitty-gritty money moves, the specific strategies, hacks, and systems that will help you travel smarter, not harder. And most importantly, how to come home without that post-trip financial regret that so many of us experience. Whether you're dreaming of a weekend getaway or a month-long international adventure, these two episodes are going to give you everything you need to make it happen. And the planning phase where all the magic happens. Next week, we'll dive into the advanced strategies and how to actually execute these trips without losing your mind or losing your money. Grab a notebook because I'm about to share the exact strategies I use to travel more now than when I was spending recklessly. And honestly, I enjoy it way more because I'm not constantly worried about money. So let's start with getting your head in the right space and creating a plan that actually works. Okay, before we get into all the tactical stuff, and trust me, we are going to get very tactical, we need to talk about the biggest game changer, which is shifting how you think about travel entirely. Because here's what I've learned. Most of us have been completely brainwashed about what makes a trip good or worth it. Rich girl travel mindset number one, expensive doesn't equal better. We have been so conditioned to think that if you're not spending a lot of money, you're not doing it right. Think back to some of your most incredible travel experiences. And these experiences could have been on a super expensive vacation, that sunrise hike, the local farmer's market where you got some delicious local produce, the conversation you had with a woman at a coffee shop in Copenhagen who completely changed your perspective on work-life balance. I know that was oddly specific, but you get where I'm going. How many times have you had the experience where the expensive thing was objectively worse because you can't even enjoy it because you're so worried about the bill that's going to come at the end of the evening? Here's what I want you to understand. Luxury isn't about the price tag. Luxury is about how something makes you feel. And you can feel luxurious drinking wine you bought at the grocery store while watching the sunset from a free beach. Or you can feel stressed and guilty spending $300 on a dinner that's honestly just okay. Rich girl travel mindset number 2: slow down to speed up your purchasing power. This is huge, and it's the opposite of what most people do. Instead of cramming 15 cities into 10 days, which by the way sounds exhausting and expensive, pick one place and really explore it. Stay longer, move slower. A friend of mine did this last year when they went to Mexico. Instead of trying to hit up Cancun, Mexico City, and Tulum in 1 week, they just stayed in one area for 2 weeks. And not only was this so much better for their wallet, they didn't have to pay for multiple flights, constant transportation, and they got weekly rates on Airbnbs. But it was also infinitely more luxurious. They weren't rushing from tourist trap to tourist trap with a suitcase. They were living like locals. They found a favorite coffee shop. They got to know the woman who ran the local market. And they discovered an incredible beach that wasn't in any guidebook. And if going away for 2 weeks just does not sound realistic from a PTO perspective, try working for a few of those days. You're there for a long time anyway. Work for a little bit in the morning, take a nice walk around the town for lunch, and then come back, work a few more hours, and go out to dinner. You don't use up a day of PTO and you're still experiencing a new place. And honestly, sometimes just working in a different location feels like a vacation by itself. This is how wealthy people travel, by the way. They don't do whirlwind tours. They pick a place and they settle in. They rent a house for a month. They get to know the area. They build relationships. You can do the same thing on any budget. Rich girl travel mindset number 3: off season is the new peak season. Everyone wants to go to Europe in July. But you know what's actually luxurious? Having the Colosseum mostly to yourself in February. Getting that beachfront restaurant table in October without the reservation. Paying literally 50% less for everything. That's luxury. A friend of mine went to Greece in March of last year, and it was absolutely magical. The weather was delightful, the crowds were minimal, and they paid half of what they would have paid in the summer. And they were just before spring break, so they beat the crowds. The locals were more relaxed and friendly because they weren't dealing with massive tourist crowds. They could actually take photos without hundreds of strangers in the background. Off-season travel is the ultimate rich girl hack because you're getting a premium experience at a budget price. You are smarter than everyone else who's paying peak prices to deal with peak crowds. Rich girl travel mindset number 4: your home base matters more than you think. Here's something most people don't consider. Where you're staying sets the tone for your entire trip. And I am not talking about staying at the most expensive hotel. I'm talking about choosing accommodations that make you feel good and give you space to actually relax. I'd rather stay in a cozy Airbnb with a kitchen where I can make coffee in the morning and have a glass of wine on the balcony in the evening than in a fancy hotel room where I feel like I have to be on all the time. Having a home base where you can decompress, where you can spread out, or where you can just be yourself, that's luxury. Rich girl travel mindset number 5: travel is an investment in yourself. Here's the last mindset shift, and it's important. Stop thinking about travel as frivolous spending or using your travel funds after you've spent on everything else. Travel is an investment in yourself. It's education, it's personal growth, it's perspective, it's mental health. When you frame it that way, you start making different choices about how you spend your travel money. Instead of buying a bunch of stuff you don't need, you invest in experiences that change you. Instead of staying at the fanciest hotel, you choose accommodations that let you actually connect with the place you're visiting. Instead of eating at tourist restaurants, you seek out local experiences that give you insight into how other people live. I saw a reel the other day and it was absolutely brilliant. A woman was traveling by herself and she'd go to the bar and sit at the bar and talk with the bartenders. And she would ask them, "Where is your favorite place to grab a drink or a bite to eat?" And they'd tell her. And then she'd go there. And then she'd sit at the bar and ask that bartender, "Where is your favorite place to grab a drink or get a bite to eat?" And she'd go to that place and on and on and on. In one day, she hit up 5 different places and they all were local spots. Bartenders always have the best recommendations. And she got to see places and experience restaurants that she never would have if she just fell victim to going to the local tourist traps. Here's your homework for this section. I want you to think about your best travel memory. And I bet you it wasn't the most expensive thing you did on that trip. Write it down. What made it special? How did it make you feel? That's what we're going for here. I want you to recreate that feeling multiple times in one single vacation. Okay, now that we've got your mindset right, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of planning a trip that feels expensive but isn't. This is where the magic happens, but it's also some work. Honestly, this is where people mess up because they either don't plan at all or they plan wrong. Step one to the planning phase. Set a realistic budget and make it non-negotiable. I know, I said the B word. I'm sorry. Budgets are not the fun part. But you know what is? Not having a panic attack when you check your bank account or receive your credit card statement after your trip. Here's my formula, and I want you to write this down. Take what you think you want to spend and then add 20% for unexpected costs. This is your absolute maximum, not your goal, not your target, not what you're trying and hoping and wishing you're going to spend, your maximum. So if you think you want to spend $2,000, your maximum is $2,400. Write it down, put it in your phone, screenshot it, Excel spreadsheet. I don't care, whatever you need to do to make it real. And here's the thing. This includes everything: flights, accommodations, food, activities, souvenirs, that cute dress you're definitely going to want to buy because it's going to make an awesome picture for Instagram, everything. But hey, if you're able to get your flight with points, awesome. Use miles, use points, whatever you can do to stay underneath that goal, do it. I use a separate savings account for travel. Every month, I automatically transfer money into my travel fund. That way, when I'm ready to book a trip, I know exactly how much I have to work with, and I'm not tempting myself to put things on credit cards. Step two, choose your destination strategically. And I talked about this with Mary Hines Droach on a past episode. Instead of saying, "Where do I want to go?" start asking, "Where can I get the most luxury for my dollar?" This is a game changer. Where can we get the most bang for your buck? Some of the most beautiful places in the world are incredibly affordable if you know where to look. Eastern Europe is amazing for this. You can live like absolute royalty in Prague or Budapest for what you'd spend on a mediocre weekend in a cramped hotel room in New York City. I'm talking about beautiful hotels, incredible food, amazing experiences, all for a fraction of what you'd pay in Western Europe. Southeast Asia is another gold mine. Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. These places are gorgeous, the food is incredible, and your money goes so far. You could live in Bali for a month less than what you pay for your rent at home. But here's the thing, you don't have to go international to find great value. Another cost, renewing your passport. If your passport expired, that 100 some bucks that you have to pay to renew your passport, that should go right into the travel budget. Well, if you really don't feel like spending that money on the passport, then look domestic. Some of the most beautiful places in the US are incredibly affordable if you avoid the obvious tourist destinations. Instead of the Hamptons, try the Finger Lakes. Instead of Napa, try Virginia wine country. Yes, Virginia does have a wine country. Instead of Miami, try Savannah. Travel and Leisure puts out their top destinations each year. Avoid them. They're going to be more expensive and more crowded because everyone is reading that same article and traveling to those cities. Step 3, master the art of flexible dates. This is where you can save hundreds of dollars with just a little bit of flexibility. Use Google Flights Calendar to see prices across different dates. Try flying on a Tuesday instead of a Friday. That's often $200 in savings right there. Leave a day earlier or later than what you originally planned. Sometimes it's the difference between a $300 flight and a $700 flight. I always search for flights with a plus or minus 3-day window. And do the same thing for Airbnb. It's amazing how much prices can vary. And here's a pro tip. If you see a good price, don't wait. Flight prices change constantly, and that's a great deal that might be gone in a few hours. Red-eye flights are your friend. Yes, they're less convenient, kind of miserable, but they're often significantly cheaper. And if you can sleep on planes, which I am incredibly good at, you're basically getting a free night's accommodation because you're not paying for a hotel that first night. Step 4. Here are some accommodation hacks that'll blow your mind. Hotels are not your only option when you travel. And honestly, they're usually not your best, most affordable option. Here are my favorite alternatives. House swaps. This is literally free accommodation. We know it. We've all seen The Holiday. We know how this works. You stay in someone else's house, they stay in yours. It's like Airbnb, but nobody pays for anything. There are websites like Home Exchange and Love Home Swap that facilitate this. I have friends that have done this so many times and they say it's incredible. You get a whole house, often in residential neighborhoods where you can really experience local life. House sitting, free accommodation, and you're doing someone a favor by watching their pets or their plants. You can travel the world essentially for free doing this. Trusted House Sitters is a great platform for house sitting. Hostels aren't just for college kids. I know what you're thinking. Hostels are gross and you have to share a room with strangers, and we all saw that movie in the early aughts. But many hostels now have private rooms that cost less than hotels and they have way more character. And the social aspect can be really fun if you're traveling solo. You can guarantee you're going to go home with a story or two. Or how about Airbnb monthly discounts? If you can work remotely, this is an amazing option. Stay a month and get up to 50% off. I know digital nomads who essentially live in different countries. 3, 2, 1. I know digital nomads who essentially live in different countries for less than they'd pay for rent at home. And lastly, alternative accommodations. Look into guest houses, bed and breakfasts, farm stays, even camping if you're into that. Some of my most memorable accommodation experiences have been in places that weren't traditional hotels. Step 5, transportation that doesn't break the bank. First, think about ground transportation. Sometimes a 4-hour train ride is cheaper than a 1-hour flight and way more scenic. In Europe, the train system is incredible and often more convenient than flying when you factor in driving to the airport, getting there early, checking your bag, retrieving your bag, and so on and so forth. Budget airlines. Yes, you pay for everything separately, and it really feels like you're getting nickel and dimes. But if you pack light and bring your own snack, you'll save hundreds. Just read the fine print so you know what you're paying for. Or how about local transportation? Skip the taxis unless absolutely necessary. Use public transportation, walk, rent a bike. You'll see more, spend less, and often have more authentic experiences. I've discovered some of my favorite neighborhoods just by walking around instead of taking taxis everywhere. Bonus, by walking or riding a bike, you're burning the calories of all the delicious food you're eating. And you just feel better when you're riding around on a bicycle. Rideshare and carpooling. Apps like BlaBlaCar in Europe let you share rides with locals. It's cheap. You often get great recommendations from your driver. Step 6, the 50-30-20 rule. Yes, 50-30-20 just doesn't apply to your spending strategy at home. It's your spending strategy when you travel. Here is a framework for allocating your travel budget. Spend 50% of your travel budget on the big stuff, flights and accommodations, 30% on experiences and food, and 20% buffer for unexpected costs and souvenirs. This keeps you from overspending in one area and having no money left for the fun stuff. I see people blow their entire travel budget on a fancy hotel, and then they have to eat ramen or peanut butter and jelly for every meal. That is not rich girl energy. Step 7, book strategically. There is an art to when you book things. Flights are usually cheapest about 6 to 8 weeks in advance for domestic travel and 3 months in advance for international. But accommodations, you can often get better deals closer to your travel date, especially if you're flexible. I use a combination of booking early for the big stuff and booking late for the flexible stuff. I'll book my flights early to get good prices, but wait to book activities until I'm actually there and can ask locals for recommendations. Step 8, travel insurance is non-negotiable. I know it seems like an extra expense, but trust me on this one. Travel insurance can save you thousands if something goes wrong. I learned that the hard way when I got food poisoning on a trip to Michigan and had to stay an extra day at my hotel. Without insurance, that would have been a very expensive lesson. And there you have it, the foundation of rich girl travel. We covered the 5 mindset shifts that change everything and the complete planning framework that sets you up for success. I hope you're starting to see that expensive doesn't equal better, that slow travel is actually more luxurious, and that off season is your secret weapon. And that planning phase, that is where you save hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars just by being strategic. Your homework before next week's episode: pick one destination you've been dreaming about and spend 30 minutes researching it using what we've covered today. Look for off-season dates. Check those house swap sites and see what the real costs would be using the 50-30-20 rule. I'll bet you'll be surprised by how doable it actually is. Also, start that travel fund this week. Even if it's just $10, put it in a separate account or a jar on your dresser. Having a dedicated travel fund makes your goals feel real and achievable. Next week, we're diving into the advanced strategies, travel hacking for beginners, on the ground money moves, and how to come home without regret. Plus, I'll share some of my favorite travel hacks that have saved me thousands over the years. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who's been putting off travel because of money fears. And tag me in your stories when you start planning. I love seeing where these tips take you. Until then, keep that rich girl energy flowing. And remember, you don't need to wait until you're rich to start living richly. I'll talk to you soon.